Welcome to the Apple Seeds Teaching Farm. We are in our outdoor classroom where we are normally hosting lots of kids. They plant radishes and they harvest spinach and kale and learn how to cook. But today we're going to bring the farm to you. We have our friend Chef Haley O'Brien with us of Fractal. And she has been looking through her pantry as part of Apple Seeds Pantry Pairings. And we're going to see what kind of produce we have in the garden that we could pair nicely with what she's got in her pantry.
Really what I was excited to find was a lot more spices than I had assumed that I had. So getting creative with using some fresh spring produce and some of those spices, as well as working through some of the rice that I had on stock, has kind of been my goal for our pantry pairing.
Yes, and I bet lots of people have rice and spices. So let's see what we have in the garden. This is amazing. I love kale this time of year. It's so tender and fresh. And this variety is a Tuscan kale. Kale's our farmer here. Come tell us a little bit about the kale.
Hi everybody, Kale with a C. I have planted winter boar kale and white Russian kale. This is the crinkly variety that's really good for kale chips. We started these from seeds in the high tunnel back in December and January. We transplanted these into the ground in February, and here it is in April, and we're doing a large harvest. Kale is a cool weather crop like all other brassicas. They are really great to grow throughout the winter if you have a place like a high tunnel, and again, you can grow them outside in the early spring like we're doing here.
So just getting cleaned up after our lovely trip outside to the garden, and we're going to get ready to do some curry braised greens and veggies. So what we have here is a mix of spinach, kale, and Swiss chard. And then I actually have an onion and a carrot as well as some garlic. So these will kind of be where we start pre-prepping and slicing these up. Finally, when it comes to the Swiss chard, we are going to be pulling off the stem here and holding on to it. We're going to use all these stems and actually cut them up very small here.
And this is actually a good place to pull your kids into the kitchen. They can take the greens and rip them into small pieces. So if you're looking for a way to engage your kids in the kitchen and help with dinner, this is a great way to do it.
First, I am going to pre-prep all these vegetables and just kind of cut them up. We've got a little scrap bowl over here to compost or hold on to any onion or carrot scraps for veggie stock if you want to make maybe some soup later this week with anything you have in your pantry as well. I'm a big advocate of trying to use all parts of the plant in your cooking. So that's kind of important to me why we hold on to these delicious Swiss chard stems. They have a ton of vitamins and color and flavor and texture. And just thin slice these very kind of on the bias. So they kind of look pretty in there. And you know, the more colored veggies, the more variety of vitamins and minerals we're gonna have. And really, I try to get a lot of my cooking based around anti-inflammatory foods. So we will be working with minimal dairy today and lots of vegetables, of course. So we've got some onion, just gonna take that down in some nice little slices as well. And that way I can hold all my hard vegetables, being the carrots and the onions, in one container. And then we can have the ripped up greens in another, and we'll add them in separate editions. Now I like to use a little garlic crusher. You can, of course, mince this garlic with a knife. But this tool has been kind of an awesome, fun tool to just be able to, it's a garlic twister they call it. But literally you give it a few good twists and you get a perfect mince on it. All right, and then we got these beautiful little radishes to add a little extra color too. I'm gonna hold on to these greens, and these are gonna go right into our braised greens next because radish greens are amazing. And just cut them right in half. Okay, over here I've got some soaked cashews and fresh water. When you're making your own nut creamer or milk at home, it's important when you do soak them to rinse them thoroughly and then add fresh water when making your nut milk. Now, this recipe, you can easily use canned coconut milk, or you could do some kind of creamer or yogurt as a thickener toward the end as well. So I'm going to actually just start blending this on the Vitamix real quick. So I want to get it started low and get it up as high as possible to make a really nice nut.
How long did you soak the cashews to get them to the right texture?
So I recommend soaking them overnight, and you can get a very creamy cashew cream that way. But honestly, if you soak them for a few hours, like 2 to 4 hours, you're still going to end up with a softer cashew. And if you happen to have a Vitamix or a Ninja at home, I'm going to be completely honest, you can actually use hard cashews and lukewarm water and get the same effect done. You just have to have a strong enough blender for that.
If you soak them and just have a regular blender at home, can you still get the consistency of that?
Absolutely. It's going to be wonderful. Once you soak them, blend them up in a classic blender. For this recipe, to do some braised curry greens and other veggies you have on hand, I'm going to use a Dutch oven. You can use any large pot. So we're going to start with some ghee, which is clarified butter. You can clarify your own butter at home, which means just melting it and skimming off the foam on the top. Or you can work with olive oil, avocado oil, any type of fat that you really have sitting around. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down into the pan first. We're going to let that kind of melt in there. Get to a little light simmer. And then I have a myriad of spices here. So I chose kind of Indian themed spices for my curried braised greens. Turmeric is the main spice that I use heavily in this dish. It gives it a nice bright yellow color, kind of gives it a spice profile without being spicy hot. And it's very anti-inflammatory. Then we also have some cumin, some garam masala, which is an Indian spice blend with a little allspice, cinnamon, cumin, and other assorted spices. A little bit of classic chili powder. This is Kashmiri pepper, which is kind of like a spicy paprika. Fresh garlic, of course. And then I've got a little bit of flour out here, just in case we need to thicken. Depending on the amount of greens you use and the amount of moisture that they leach out, you may need a touch of flour at the end to help thicken it up. And then we're going to go ahead and throw some garlic in. All right, and then we'll want to move that garlic around quickly. We don't want to burn it. We're going to throw in a healthy amount of turmeric, probably almost near a tablespoon. We're going to do a little pinch of the chili powder, some garam masala, just a little bit of everything, probably a little heavier on the cumin, I'd say. And just to finish it off with a little more turmeric, why not? So we're going to simmer those spices, and now that you can really smell the aromatics, and it almost gets your nose running with just all the aroma you have coming out, you're going to add some heart vegetables in. We're going to turn the heat up a little bit now that we've got some other surface area in there. And then we're going to give those a good stir around, and you can start to see already just the color that the turmeric and some of the spices are putting off. We're going to hit it with a little bit of salt. Really let them start to get to a simmer. You can toss a teeny bit of water in if you want to steam them up quicker. And that way we soften them a little bit. And a little splash of vinegar for fun, just a touch. All right. Now I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit more now that we've got enough veggie in there and all the spices coming together and a little liquid coming out of the veggies. We can turn it up and kind of cook those down a little bit more. little cashew milk. Now we're ready to go ahead and put it on some brown or white rice. You could even do it over quinoa or beans. Get creative at home. Use what you have in your pantry.
All right, so what we did when we were finishing up the recipe was we added all that beautiful kale, Swiss chard, and spinach from the garden and cooked it down slowly. And we topped it over the brown basmati rice with a little fresh cilantro from the garden. Okay, we've got our 6 feet between us. Let's try it. Oh my goodness, this is so good. It is so warming and wonderful and healthy. This is amazing. I think I'm going to be making this